Happy week start, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and thank you very much for joining us on the very first edition of Viewpoint on DBS Television, and a Merry Christmas in advance, just barely 4 days because today is already gone, and so barely 4 days to the feast of Christmas. We are wishing you all watching us at this particular moment, especially to the children. It is a pleasure having you. Hope that you had a splendid weekend and that you got good rest to begin another week full of activities. That said, welcome on board. We are happy or honored to have with us Dr. Nick Ngwanyam to discuss issues related to the improvement of democracy in Cameroon, and it is always a pleasure having him. Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, good evening and a happy week start. Merry Xmas.
Oh, thank you very much. Merry not Christmas, not Xmas. Xmas is X and then mass, so X would be devil mass. You see what I'm saying? Merry Christmas to all our listeners out there. Thanks.
He will be accompanied by Manga Venashus, so we will be accompanied by Manga Venashus for the week as usual. Manga Venashus, happy to have you again.
Vanessa, it's my pleasure to be there. Same to you, and good evening to our viewers. We are already in the mode of Christmas, if you permit me.
The week.
Of course, I would want to extend Christmas greetings to Charity Begins at Home, to my family, to my wife and children.
To your wife and children?
Yes.
They are actually getting you. Let us take the first part of the show. In the first question, can regional councils and decentralization option improve Cameroon's democracy? Dr. Nick, I begin with you.
It's a yes or no question. It's a yes or no answer.
Yes and no answer. Venashus?
Yes, Vanessa, it can.
Yes, it can. And with very few young people involved in the decentralization process, any bright future for the country? Manga Venashus?
Yes, Vanessa.
Dr. Nick?
No.
With the exclusion of youths, do we hope for a bright future?
No, we don't have a bright future when the youth are excluded.
No, we do not have a bright future. Coming up next, let us have the debate. You are all welcome. In the first question, we are trying to find out if regional councils and the decentralization option improve democracy in Cameroon. Dr. Nick, you are on the fence. Yes and no, as a civil society activist. Your viewpoint?
You see, Cameroon is coming from a highly centralized position, and we wanted to move to a point where we place power in the hands of the people to be able to make their own decisions and solve their own problems. And the question could also be rephrased: is what we are doing now, is it the best option that we could have? If we really wanted to have the best option, like you've heard me say before, it will be a confederation, and then we will cross this decentralization within the confederation. So we are making a step in the right direction. But if you leave from Bamenda and you are going to Yaoundé and you stop in Bafia, you are not yet there.
If you are not yet there.
You are not yet there. So what we are saying is, let's start with the baby steps and see how they go. But what I know is that down the road we'll be able to make improvements on what we have started on. And I can also understand, because when we are talking of Cameroon, we have the former West Cameroon and former East Cameroon. And in former West Cameroon, these are people who had been used to self-governance, and they know what they're talking about when they're looking for this opportunity. But we are dealing on this side of the Mongo, East Cameroon, so to speak. We are dealing with the people who have been conditioned for many years. They have never known it to be any different. So if you give them something on a teaspoon, it's better than nothing. That's the way they perceive it. They think, and they even think it's the best, So, but they don't know that it could be better, and there's something worth more than that. So that's the problem. But the good thing is, since we are dealing with people who have never had a taste of it, you give them the opportunity to start with the baby steps.
Give them the opportunity to start with the baby steps. So how would decentralization and these regional councils improve democracy in Cameroon?
It just improves democracy in the sense that people will now realize that you can deal with the grassroots and give them an opportunity to speak for themselves. Because up until now, it was like going to high mass with the Pope. The Pope speaks and everybody goes like the Pope speaks and everybody goes like nobody ever asked the Pope. The Pope can stand up there and say anything you cannot. If he says it is one-way traffic, you cannot ask him a question or give your own opinion. That's how it's been. You see, like we are talking on TV now, except you open up the phones, we say it, but the people who are listening to us have no opportunity of asking us questions or questioning what we are saying. We just say it and they just take it the way we have said it. That's the way it's been from top to bottom. It falls on you like rain and you have no way of reacting. But now people from the grassroots will also be able to react, and so there will be some kind of a two-way communication. Okay, and that's how it's going to help the process.
And from your point of view, did they actually have now that opportunity to speak for themselves?
You mean up until now?
Those, yes.
No.
Those in the grassroots.
No. Up until now, they were called during elections. All sorts of elections. Come and put in your votes. After that, you have no voice. Don't talk to anybody. The SDO or the sous-prefect is the Lord. He represents the president. He is the Almighty. He tells you, like we said last time, he tells you when to make love to your wife and that kind of thing. So that's it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nick Nkwanyam. Mangavenashu, so you think that a regional councils and decentralization option will improve for Cameroon's democracy?
Yes, Vanessa, since 1996, we've been on this drive for, reshuffling and readjusting institutional structures in Cameroon to fine-tune our pro-democracy or the practice of democracy in our country. Remember when President Paul Biya was, when he took over power in 1982, he said something that he would love Cameroonians to keep a souvenir or a remembrance of him as one who brought democracy in Cameroon. From 1982 right up to 1996, constitutional adjustments were made and provisions were made in the constitution to make sure that we start putting these democratic, institutions into the governance of our country. And after 1996, they had to take some time before we started getting real characteristics of democracy as such in our Cameroonian landscape. But then, after all this while, something must begin from somewhere. It does not fall from a void, from a sky. No, it must begin from somewhere. And the president started by instituting the Senate. We've had the Senate is already in the second legislature. We've had the regional councils. We had the elections. Tomorrow, Tuesday, the first pioneer regional executive will be known, and the regional councils will be commissioned into their functions. And we think that with all this put in place, it would like Doctor was saying, let the grassroots know that their voice count in the management of this country. It will not be, what we had before was our elected representatives, our elected officials were simply MPs and mayors. MPs have been like those who have been high placed there. We only hear them about when it is time for elections. And after elections, they disappear into thin air. But now we'll have regional delegate, divisional councillors, regional councillors, right from the divisions, right from the subdivisions, because they are the people who make up the divisional councillors. Yes. Now, once we have them there, and remember, we are talking about regional councils, their main preoccupation is to fast-track development in Cameroon. That is what when we talk about politicking, when we talk about all election matters, the goal, if you put away election from development, I think you put out the place of the grassroots, militant or Cameroonians. All what we do, whoever we are electing, what type of election, the target is to see how we can bring development closer to the people. When it comes to bringing administration closer to the people, it is appointment. But when we elect, these are people who want them to carry our difficulties, carry our worries, carry our problem to the hierarchy, so that we can also feel the impact of the country. And I think that right up to this level where we already have things broken down, right up to the divisional level, subdivisional level, I think that it would give the people now an opportunity to also voice out their concern. I talked to the regional councillor from my subdivision, from my division. I have the impression, I believe, that he will take my worries, he will take the worries of his locality out to the regional council. And we believe that the regional councils or councillors, once they take over appointment or take over their duties from tomorrow, then they would be able to represent us. When we talk about democracy, what is democracy? Democracy is all about power to the people, for the people, and by the people. And if we're asking whether the decentralization option will improve democracy in Cameroon, I think that with the regional councils, democracy would have, or decentralization in Cameroon would have attained the target, because the idea was split government. We should not have a centralized kind of government. Let us split it in various regions. And like the division was already done, each region has 70 regional councils, 20 traditional rulers who form the House of Chiefs. With all this, I think that from the traditional perspective, we would be able to talk out our worries, because we have our chiefs, 20 of them from each region. From the point of administrative, from the point of administration, actually, we would have 70 people who are different. They are not mayors, they are not parliamentarians, they are not senators. So you see that we have put down the society into compartment in such a way that if any region now is left behind, because I remember I was listening to one government official and they were like, when we talk of development, it is not that one region will develop more than the other. When we talk about decentralization, the
equitable development for all.
No.
Is it equitable?
Of course, equitable development for all, so that we talk of Cameroon developing, not maybe the center region, the littoral region developing, and then the south region, the far north region is, feet dragging behind. No, the idea is each regional councillor will be tasked with the idea of fast-tracking development within his region. Vanessa, we had this very worry because people were confused with, we had councillors, we had mayors, but then development was not going through. Are we going to have regional councillors now, and would they bring development? I think that regional councillors are quite different from the mayors. Putting the assisting the mayors, there will be this kind of collaboration, like one mayor was actually explaining.
Dr. Nick, do you buy that idea?
Well, we have to. It's a theory, and it might work, it might not work. But like I said, we are in a learning process. Everybody is learning, and if you look, somebody wrote out an article that was on social media. Again, I think I might have sent it to you too. You probably read it. When you look at the laws or the clauses or the policies governing this decentralization thing, there are a lot of questions that should be asked. And we might think that is a lot, but it's really not much. They might be responsible for, have something to say about education and health, and I think that is it. It's not very much really. And then some areas of development is the no-go area for them. There are so many things they are not even just supposed to mention, or the house will be shut down by the governor or the prefect who are appointed. So again, as I said, it's this thing called decentralization is just a small window into self-governance. It's not much, and they would have their budget is only 15% of the national budget. It's very, very little really. But that said, if you have your child who is just growing up, you cannot give the child too much money, otherwise they get intoxicated with money and don't know how to use it. So let's see how they use the 15% and correct their errors. Then we'll continue to increase until we get to 40%, like in other countries, or even 50%. But for now, you just give them a little and make sure that they are doing the right thing with the money.
Actually, Vanessa, that's why I wanted to come in from what Doctor is saying to indicate that actually this is the maiden, the ever first regional council executive that we are going to have, and they would be going in, no human work, the works of human hand is perfect. We would need to start from somewhere, like I said, and starting from somewhere, it is one characteristic of a human being, we will need to start with some imperfection, and as time goes on, we would fine-tune their activities. We would begin to understand that no, that budget is too small if we intend to carry out what we call decentralization.
If you mean those start with imperfection, it means that in one way or the other you encourage them to misuse it.
Not at all, not misusing.
Under the context that they are not perfect human beings.
The expectations of Cameroonians are now shifted from the parliamentarians that we used to know, from the senators that have been there for close to 7 years, 8 years that we had, and everybody now is looking up to these regional councillors to bring that much needed change. It is not a question of they have more challenge than the parliamentarians and the mayors for now. So that's why they don't have the chance not to succeed. They don't have the chance to sit on their laurels or to pretend that it is the beginning so they can do what they want. No, what I mean here is the beginning is they will need to start with some lapses along the line, but then as the first year, the second year, the third year rolls on within their mandate, they are obliged to, because the budget is not for the 5-year mandate, the budget is for this year. Yes, next year, of course, all these regional presidents would have to cry out that this budget could not meet up with our target, and as such, we believe that the government, if the government is sincere with decentralization process, then the government would have to understand that each year, because the need would be so high, so much more than the budget. So as the years are going by, that's how the budget, I believe, would be increased, added, so that,
like you said, with the local councils budgets, maybe the work in collaboration
yes, and then they will deliver.
Thank you very much, Mange Fenashus. In the second part, with very few young people involved in the decentralization process, any bright future for the country Cameroon? Dr. Nick, you don't see any bright future given that youth are not involved in the process of decentralization?
When we talk about a country, let us understand a couple of things. When we talk about a country, it sounds big, it sounds confusing. Let us bring it back to the home. All right? Let's bring it back to the home, where you have a father, a mother, and his kids. And a father, especially the one who is in business or something, starts grooming his own children. Okay, and training them along. And as the Bamilikes, they will tell you, as the Igbos, they will tell you, might be those of us who are not into business will not understand, but parents who want a family business to outlive them, they start grooming their children when they are young. You don't work until your bones are broken, then death takes over you, then the thing goes over to your kid just because of death. If you do that, it never works. So you will crash. So you always need to hold the hands of your kids as you move along. But so it works in this same politics. You cannot have people who have been doing the wrong things all this while, because they need the country is suffering because of these people who have been who have messed up all this while. Then they went on retirement or whatever, and then regional elections show up, and because they want positions and want a job, in fact many of them have gone there not because they really want to participate in development and help people to grow. Their motives is job. What can I have from it? How much would I be paid? Sitting fees, all those little things. And then probably
thinking of the advantages that
yes, you used to be something called something, and when you went home there, so it's so cold. When you come now, you might have something again by which you can be called. So many people are not there for the sake of development. If you are there because of development and you are an old person and you had nothing to show as evidence for development, personal or collective, when you were, are you getting me, in power or when you were how do you say it? Dans l'affaire. Voilà. You couldn't. It's not now that you are retired and you're old, you're wobbly, that you come and deliver. So they are only there to grab. But wisdom would have allowed that they should let the young come forward, especially the young who have been struggling and have a demonstration. You know what I mean by demonstration? Bring proof. So to be a councillor or a regional whatever, bring proof of something you have been doing, either personally or for the community, to show that when you have the opportunity, you will do better. If we don't have that, it's a waste of time. We just keep picking these civil servants and whatever and just dump them.
Does that explain why most youth do misbehave when they're being given a certain positions to handle?
You mean the youth?
Yes.
Yes, because
because they've not been groomed.
Yeah, you've not been groomed. You know, watch what happens to, let's say, some of these young people. You see a young person suffering in the cartier for long, then he probably finds his way to Enam, and then he comes out after 2 years and he's a due. He sits behind a big car like this, and the chauffeur driven around. So the ego just goes to the ceiling, pop, you know, and then he just forgets that he came from that ditch, and then he doesn't work in a manner, you know, there's this disconnect, and he says, oh, I'm not part of that lot again, I'm up here, I'm dining with the kings. So so you need to grow your children so that they are not surprised by wealth, they're not surprised by power, it's but a way of life. Are you getting what I'm saying? And then they grow with the understanding that it's for everybody and everybody has to grow. This is a mindset that we must have. But if we keep having people popping them up from the dead up, pop, like, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Mangavenashis, you think that rather these youth are going to lead to a bright Cameroon tomorrow?
It may be surprising to understand that that I am for the fact that with the exclusion the very few young people involved in this decentralization drive, that the future is bright for Cameroon. Vanessa, at one point, I don't tend to accept this notion because they've told us that the youth are the future leaders of tomorrow, and this tomorrow has refused to come. So they keep telling us that the youth remains the future leaders of the tomorrow. You know, in English they use the word tomorrow, and tomorrow has no tangible,
no time limit.
So even tomorrow, I will still tell my children that you will still be leaders of tomorrow, and I'm still sitting there, and the tomorrow will still, of course, because tomorrow will always come, and we're still always looking for tomorrow. So what I mean here, that the future will still be bright, even with the very few youths involved, is that, you know, we the young people have been brainwashed to believe that we cannot. We the young people have been, you know, made to think that we are not up to the level. That is why you still have somebody, he is in government, his child is in government, his grandson is in government, and he is still working. In a normal situation, I used to ask, because somebody challenged me and asked me a question, what is the retirement age in Cameroon? And I said something like 62, 65 in some core, and he says, what is the age of a young man in Cameroon? At 77, you are still in the youth wing of a party. Now, it means in Cameroon, the youth retire before they reach the adult. Because those who go on retirement are youth. At 72, 65, 62, you're already retiring. Meanwhile, at 77, you are still in the youth wing of a party. It means you would retire as a young man. You retired as a young man, as a youth.
As a youth.
Whereas the old people are those who are working. And that's the reality that we have in our country. Vanessa Alde, we want to take us away from our country a bit outside before we come back into what we call advanced democracy. Take, for example, the United States of America. How old is Joe Biden? How old was Trump? In the course of those who tell us, those who are presenting the ideal form of democracy, how many young people were involved in that election? Because when I put this, and I would tend to believe that Doctor said something here that young people appear not to have been groomed. That is why they backfire once they occupy, suddenly find themselves in a certain position. We have a president, one European country, who came to power at the age of 39. And if you look at the way the president has been behaving, you would tend to ask yourself, are these young people really worth the position they are being given? Because the president is proving that, because I will not understand, like a young man, when I meet Doctor, I respect him, he is my elder. But because I am a president of country A, country X, country F, does that mean that because I'm the president, I disrespect him? But then, when you have an old man who has been there, remember an African adage says, what an old man sees while sitting, a young man, even if you climb the tree, you would not see. And I bring it back to our political sphere. What an old man sees while sitting, a young man, even if he becomes a president, will not see it. That is why, if you take our African cultural context, you realize that we have our phones. I want to talk like a grass field. We have our phones. Fondom, or the position of a fund is not elective. Once you are there till. you
Yeah,
die.
you die.
And you will understand that those our old phones who were there at old age, do you see, they carried out the affairs of the fandom with a lot of maturity and dexterity. But when you take these young people now,
And when they felt they were tired, they simply find a successor and groom them to be better fonts as well.
but you remain in the background because there can be no two fonts ruling. In fact, as the
Yes,
grassroots culture
yes,
is concerned,
yes, you remain
in the background. But then, when we have these young men who are coming now as fonts and chiefs, you see the way they behave, because they still this childishness still comes in. So I still believe that Cameroon, the future of Cameroon, can still remain bright, even with the present regional councillors that we have, because the old people who have been sit tight on the chairs, they have told us that no, you cannot do anything, leave it. What we can do, you cannot do it. But say you will not tell me that you have somebody like the president of the National Assembly, the president of the Senate. Those are people who can, naturally speaking, can they sit for 3 hours thinking? But they will tell you that the National Assembly was on a plenary session for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, and these people are still there thinking normally. But then they are driving the affairs of the country. So I think that because let's keep waiting for the tomorrow when we will become leaders. For now, let's continue, waiting for tomorrow while our parents, our grandfathers keep ruling, and the country will remain.
Thank you very much, Manke Fenashus. Dr. Nick.
Thank you very much. I just want to tell wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and to say that we should stop waiting, because tomorrow is illusional. Tomorrow never exists. It's something that is just there. We use the word tomorrow, but in reality, tomorrow does not exist. If you want to do it now.
All right, Dr. Nick, you just wish a Merry Christmas to everybody. Nobody special, nobody in particular.
Look, I'm wishing Merry Christmas, especially to the youths in Cameroon, especially to the youths, because they have been really traumatized by the old people. I'm wishing a Merry Christmas to the owners of the TV stations like Baba Dangpolo and all the other TV stations, because through this medium they have been able to give Cameroonians a voice. We don't all have to listen only to CRTV. You have to listen to other TV stations. I want to wish a Merry Christmas to all the teachers who are trying to teach the youths, and to say that we should be teaching the youths more of science, engineering and technology, so that the economics can improve. And I want to wish a Merry Christmas to all the parents, because they do a lot to see their children survive. A mother and a father who spend sleepless nights because a child was sick and so on. You see what it goes into parenting. We want to wish them the best and pray that God be with them. And we wish our leaders the best and hope that God will give them wisdom to lead this country forward. Thank you very much. The message has gone across.
Manga Venashu, so we are still together, so hopefully you will extend your greetings some other time.
Of course, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of today's edition, but then I would like to wish a happy birthday to our able and unique producer, McDonald Tombo Shuyong. We wish you the best. Do have a pleasant weekend in the company of programs on DBS Television. See you tomorrow, God willing. Goodbye.